We are going to prove that rhetoric is not an important factor in science for the simple fact that science proceeds through the logical, reasoned presentation of facts. Rhetoric isn't completely separated from science. However, rhetoric does not play as big of a role in science as you may think.
Hey, I just found this really cool article online. Did you know that Isaac Newton's views on optics were born out of the original prism experiments he performed at Cambridge? In his crucial experiment, Newton had proved that white light was made up of colors, red, blue, and green, mixed together, and the prism merely separated them. He was the first person to understand the rainbow.
I mean, I may have failed Art 1 in high school, but I know that when you put those three colors together, you get a brown color. See?
No, not crayon colors, but light colors. Newton concluded that white light is really a mixture of many different types of colored rays, and that these colored rays are not composed of more basic entities.
Oh.
As kids, we were taught that mixing those three colors together wouldn't result in anything but brown, so it's easy to persuade others in thinking that way as well. We come to that conclusion by default in prior experience, and assume that Newton mixing those colors together will result in brown and not white, right? Well, Newton proved otherwise.
Maggie tried to persuade Celia that the combination of these colors would result in a brown color, not white as Newton had suggested, considering her former experience mixing colors. However, she could not use persuasion to prove herself, because Newton's view on optics are considered a law.
In the 4th century BC, the geocentric model was developed based on the astronomical observation, proposing that the center of the universe lies at the center of a spherical, stationary Earth, around which the sun, moon, planets, and stars rotate. With the development of the heliocentric model by Nicholas Copernicus in the 16th century, the sun was believed to be the center of the universe, with the planets, including the Earth, and stars orbiting around it. But how could this be true, considering the Christian Church's doctrine had been heavily influenced by Greek and Roman philosophers, especially in its views of science, firmly teaching the solid belief in a geocentric, Earth-centered universe? Society had been so heavily persuaded by the Church's teachings, people still thought that the sun revolved around the Earth, even after the argument of the universe being heliocentric had been presented. However, in time, Copernicus and Galileo's point was eventually proved to be true through scientific fact and accepted by the society. Science is science, and that's a fact. Rhetoric is not an important factor when it comes to science, because rhetoric only influences perception. While gravity may not be a proven law, it has yet to be disproven. And all the rhetoric in the world can't change the existence of gravity. Rhetoric only influences one's perception, not the law.
Science is defined as the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Given this definition, no rhetoric is involved with science. Science is strictly based on observation and experiment, which consequently are fact-based.
Science is a logical, empirical process where you can present evidence that supports this or that hypothesis, and the logically minded people, the scientific community, can accept that. Rhetoric doesn't come into play significantly until the already established evidence is distilled for the public and the policymakers, who tend to play around with that kind of stuff. Think climate change. It's obviously happening, and 99% of the scientific community accepts this, but so much of the population still denies it. But this is not a consequence of science, it's because of a simplification that people are not typically directly involved. Rhetoric doesn't matter because scientific law is scientific law. People's beliefs may change, but you can't change science. Science will go on no matter what anyone says or thinks.